Let me tell you something strange about hindsight. It wears cologne. Real strong cologne. The kind that lingers long after the guy wearing it is gone, and your marriage with him. It started on a Tuesday. Tuesdays are unremarkable by nature. No one ever says, you know what changed my life? A Tuesday. But mine? Oh, mine came with a glittery invitation and the sin of betrayal brewing under a fresh coat of politeness. Ashley, my wife of 7 years and the undisputed queen of passive-aggressive compliments, called me at work. She never called. Texts, sure. Usually to ask if I fed the dog or paid the power bill. But this was a call. Midday. Said she wanted to have dinner. Just the two of us. Someplace nice, she added, voice dripping in that sweet tone women use right before they make you question your reality. Now, I wasn't born yesterday. When a woman who spent the last 3 months answering your questions with suddenly wants a candle at dinner, it ain't because she found your old cologne irresistible. But I played along. Told her I'd meet her wherever she picked. She sent me a location. Italian place. Fancy enough to require a reservation, not fancy enough to bankrupt you. I shaved. Wore a button-down shirt I hadn't dusted off since our anniversary. Even brought flowers. Idiot. The place was dimly lit. All exposed brick and violin music piped in just loud enough to cover awkward silences. I walked in expecting to see Ashley sitting there alone, maybe sipping wine, maybe smiling the way she used to. She wasn't alone. She was sitting across from a man. Tall. Lean. Wearing a black shirt like he sold real estate on Instagram. You know the type. Smug, like he practiced his smirk in the mirror before walking in. He looked up at me. Didn't blink. Ashley smiled. Waved. Logan, she said brightly, like this was brunch and not a setup. This is Chase. From work. I've told you about him. Yeah, she had. Too many times. He's brilliant. He's so driven. He really listens when I talk. You know, all those things you say when your marriage is rotting from the inside and you're trying to distract yourself with a new project. This one wearing cologne and a gym membership. I sat down. Because I'm not a coward. Not even when the wolves are wearing button-downs and sipping Pinot. Chase didn't waste time. Leaned forward, gave me that fake friendly look people use right before they punch you in the throat emotionally. I'll make this simple, he said, voice smooth like a customer service rep denying your refund. You've got 2 options. I tilted my head. Do tell. Leave quietly, or face me like a man. And that's when I knew. This wasn't a dinner. It was a dismissal. A performance. I wasn't the guest. I was the last obstacle. Ashley didn't flinch. Didn't even blink. Just smiled at me like this was also civilized. Like I'd be reasonable enough to shake his hand, wish them well, and maybe Venmo them for half the calamari. But I'm not civilized. Not when I've been blindfolded and walked into my own execution. I smiled back. Because even wolves grin before they bite. The moment Chase said, face me like a man, I realized something. This guy thought he was in a movie. The dramatic line, the smug eye contact, the little head tilt, all he was missing was a cigar and a low-budget Netflix contract. And Ashley? She just sat there, smiling. Like she was proud of him. Like this little performance was exactly what she'd hoped for. I leaned back in my chair, adjusted my sleeves, took a breath, and said, You want your teeth whole or in pieces? His smirk twitched. That's when I stood up. Slowly. My chair scraped against the hardwood like a warning shot. Now listen, I'm not a violent guy. But I am a man with limits. And this smug sack of overconfidence had marched across every last one of them in under a minute. The table flipped. Plates shattered. Wine glasses turned into red waterfalls. People gasped, someone screamed, and Chase? He got introduced to the edge of the table face first. His smirk didn't survive the impact. Ashley shrieked. Logan, stop. You're embarrassing me. Embarrassing her. Let that sink in. Not hurting her feelings, not breaking her heart, embarrassing her. That told me everything I needed to know. This wasn't about love. This wasn't even about Chase. It was about her pride. Her image. She thought she could script this whole evening like a Hallmark breakup special, all polite handshakes and clean exits. Instead, she got reality. And a broken wine glass in her lap. Security dragged me out. Chase was still wheezing on the floor, looking like he'd lost a fight with gravity and bad decisions. Outside, I stood on the curb, fist bloodied, heart racing, but weirdly calm. Because suddenly, the noise in my head stopped. This wasn't the beginning of the affair. It was the endgame. The grand finale. They'd been running around behind my back for months, maybe longer. I was just the last loose end. Well, loose ends don't always go quietly. When I got home that night, the house felt different. Not just quiet. Off. Like walking into a hotel room someone else just left. Her perfume still hung in the air. But there was another scent. Something musky. Expensive. Arrogant. Chase. I checked the bedroom. Bed made. Tightly. Hotel tight. Ashley hadn't made our bed in years. The throw pillows were arranged perfectly. Too perfectly. I sat down. My knuckles throbbed. My chest? Hollow. Like my ribs were just scaffolding now. Then my phone buzzed. A message from her. You didn't have to do that. You embarrassed yourself. Not, are you okay? Not, I'm sorry. Just blame. That's when the final switch flipped. I wasn't confused anymore. I wasn't shocked. I was done. I stood up and started looking. Not because I suspected anymore. I knew. But I needed proof. Something real. Something I could hold in my hands while I watched everything else fall apart. In the closet, I found a pair of heels I'd never seen before. Red. Expensive. She hadn't worn heels for me in over a year. In her vanity, I opened her tablet. No password. She trusted me. Or maybe she forgot I could still read. The first photo hit like a sledgehammer to the chest. Ashley. In a hotel mirror. Barely dressed. Date stamped last weekend. She told me she was visiting her friend Lacey's baby shower in Sacramento. Unless Lacey's baby shower had room service and mood lighting, someone was lying. And I was officially done being lied to. I didn't sleep that night. Didn't even try. I sat there on the edge of our bed, or what used to be our bed, staring at Ashley's photo on the screen like it might change if I looked long enough. Like maybe it was a mistake. A misunderstanding. Maybe I was overreacting. Spoiler alert, I wasn't. The woman in that photo wasn't my wife. Not the one I remembered from Sunday mornings in sweats and pancakes. Not the one who used to tuck her legs under mine on the couch like they belonged there. No, this version of Ashley had hotel lighting in her eyes and secrets in her smile. The more I scrolled, the clearer it became. She wasn't just cheating. She was documenting it. Photos in different hotel rooms. Selfies in lingerie I'd never seen. Captions like, he's worth the risk winking face, and Tuesday tastes better when it's forbidden. It wasn't even subtle. It was like reading the scrapbook of a double life. I opened her texts next. I don't know what I expected. Guilt? Shame? Something human? Nope. Just more sugar-coated venom. Chase. He suspects yet? Ashley. He's clueless. Still thinks we're just reconnecting. Chase. Might be time to pull the plug. Ashley. Dinner Friday. I'll let him think it's his idea to leave. And there it was. The dinner wasn't a confrontation. It was a ceremony. A send-off. I wasn't being told the truth. I was being dismissed. Like an intern who didn't make the cut. I sat there, heart slow and cold, scrolling through betrayal with the kind of calm only a broken man can feel. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I didn't even throw the tablet. I just nodded. Because now, the game had changed. And if she wanted to play games, she should have picked someone who doesn't read the rules. I write them. First move? The safe. Ashley never used it. Said remembering combinations made her feel old. But I did. Inside were the usual suspects. Passports, spare keys, some savings, and the wedding album. I hadn't opened that thing in years. But I pulled it out, dusted off the cover, and opened to page 1. Ashley in white. Me in navy. Smiling like idiots. Flip. Us cutting cake. Her parents beaming. My mother crying into a napkin. Flip. And then, something slipped out between the pages. A note. Handwritten. Faded ink. Folded neatly in a way that said, this wasn't meant to be found. It read, you said you'd leave him. You promised. I'm done being your secret. Pick one of us before we both walk. No signature. No date. Just desperation in cursive. I leaned back, the weight of it all pressing into my spine like truth finally had a spine of its own. Ashley wasn't just cheating now. She had a track record. And if Chase thought he was the first or the last, he was about to find out the hard way that Ashley wasn't loyal to anyone except the mirror. But here's the thing. I wasn't about to walk away quietly. No, sir. They planned to humiliate me in public? I'd return the favor. But not with fists. With facts. With patience. With precision. Cruelty, when done right, doesn't need volume. It just needs timing. They say revenge is a dish best served cold. But I wasn't interested in dishes. I was interested in architecture. I was building something deliberate, measured, and devastating. Not a tantrum. A blueprint. And step 1 was simple. Watch and wait. Ashley had no idea I knew. That gave me power. And if there's one thing cheaters hate more than getting caught, it's not being in control of the moment they get caught. So I played it cool. The next morning, I made coffee like nothing happened. She walked in, yawning, wrapped in the robe I bought her for our 5th anniversary, the same one I now knew had cuddled up with other men. "Morning," she said, brushing a hand through her hair. "Morning," I replied, passing her a mug. "Sleep okay?" "Yeah," she said, stretching. "You?" "Oh, like a rock." She smiled, oblivious. Like a magician who hadn't noticed the audience already saw the trick up her sleeve. That weekend, I started Phase 2 collection. Every villain leaves a trail. And Ashley? She was practically using a highlighter. Her passwords? Still saved. Her photo backups? Synced to the cloud. Her email? Left open on our shared computer, as if I was still the man who believed privacy meant trust. I found hotel confirmations, restaurant reservations, even a private calendar labeled wellness appointments that looked like a travel itinerary for two. Thursday, 3 p.m., spa, the Birch Hotel. Friday, 7 p.m., dinner, Lumiere rooftop. Saturday, 9 a.m., Pilates winking face. Subtle. I took screenshots, backed them up, created a folder titled Taxes on an encrypted flash drive because no one ever opens anything labeled taxes unless they hate themselves. I made copies of Chase's messages, even pulled down a few from Ashley's Instagram DMs, the ones she assumed were invisible in her close friends circle. Turns out close friends means something else when your husband's got IT certifications. By Sunday, the drive was full. I stared at it in my hand, a tiny black rectangle that now contained the crumbling bones of our marriage. And still, I waited. Because the real revenge? The kind that leaves a mark? It doesn't explode. It unfolds. Monday came with rain. A slow, drizzly kind of gloom that felt tailor-made for betrayal. Ashley kissed me on the cheek before heading to work. I smiled. "Have a good day." She did. According to her GPS location, which I'd quietly pinged, she ended up at Chase's high-rise apartment by lunchtime. A man who wore skinny jeans indoors and had the audacity to own a pull-up bar in his living room. They ordered Thai food, watched a movie, stayed parked there until nearly 5. Then she came home, humming. Dinner was pasta, her favorite. I made it, poured wine, even lit a candle. "You're in a good mood," she said. "Just feeling grateful," I replied. "For everything." Her eyes softened. She reached for my hand. "I'm glad we're getting back to us." Us. Like we were the problem. Like I had wandered off into someone else's bed. I nodded. "Me too." Then I handed her an envelope. "What's this?" she asked. "Just something I've been working on." "Open it." She unsealed it slowly, lips curving in curiosity. Then her expression changed, subtly, like a crack in a frozen pond. Inside, a printout of Chase's texts. The hotel booking. A photo of the two of them together, time-stamped. His hand on her thigh. Ashley's smile died in her mouth. She looked up. "Logan." "Keep going," I said calmly. There was another photo, the one of her in the hotel mirror. Beneath that, a note she'd written to Chase. "Logan's clueless. Just have to push him out slow. He won't fight. He never does." I waited. She didn't speak. Just stared at the paper like it might start bleeding. I leaned forward, elbows on the table. "I know everything," I said. "And I've known for weeks." The dinner wasn't a shock, it was confirmation. "You and Chase? You've been starring in your own little soap opera." I just hadn't finished the script. "Logan, I didn't mean for it to. Save it," I said. "We'll skip the monologue." She opened her mouth again, but I wasn't interested in her excuses. I stood up, walked over to the counter, and pulled out a second folder, this one labeled for HR. "What's this?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. "Photos. Screenshots. DMs. Some of which were sent from your work email, by the way. Pretty sure Chase is in a supervisory role, right? Could be a problem for your company. Logan." I dropped the folder on the table like a mic. "You tried to humiliate me in public. Parade me into a breakup like a lost puppy. You thought I'd roll over, maybe move into a studio apartment and cry into takeout." Her face turned pale. "But I don't cry, Ashley. I document. I prepare. And most of all, I remember." She stood up abruptly, hand on her chest. "Are you going to ruin my life?" I looked her dead in the eyes. "No," I said. "You already did that yourself." Then I walked out the door. Left her standing there, in the house we built together. in the ashes of the life she chose to burn. But this wasn't the end. It was just the turn of the key. The Monday night dinner was the warning shot. A controlled burn. Ashley now knew I wasn't the clueless husband. I was the calm in the eye of the hurricane, and the hurricane was just starting to spin. The next morning, I dressed like any other Tuesday: collared shirt, clean shave, quiet confidence. But this wasn't a normal workday. Today was for Chase. Ashley's office building was a mirror glass tower downtown, the kind that tried to look important by reflecting how unimportant everything around it was. Chase worked on the 14th floor. Director of Strategy, or some other title inflated enough to sound impressive but vague enough to mean nothing. I knew exactly where to go. You see, I'd done my research. Over the last 2 weeks, while Ashley was playing work late with her favorite executive cliché, I'd built a tidy little portfolio of Chase's internal behavior. Forwarded emails from Ashley's work account. Screenshots of company messages where he pushed their relationship way beyond the HR handbook. A few memos from her inbox conveniently BCC'd to me. Let's just say Chase's arrogance wasn't limited to his wardrobe. He'd been sloppy. Too confident. That's the thing about guys like Chase Donovan. They don't worry. They assume no one's watching. Until they find out someone was watching everything. 9 a.m. sharp, I walked into the office lobby with a folder under my arm and a smile on my face. The receptionist looked up, about to ask who I was there for. I didn't wait. Hi. I have something urgent for human resources regarding one of your directors. She blinked. Name: Chase Donovan. Her eyes widened slightly, just enough. She buzzed me through. 10 minutes later, I was sitting across from a woman named Renee, vice president of HR. Early 50s, sharp suit, sharper eyes. She'd seen it all before, except maybe not like this. Mr. Reeves, she said, scanning the first page of my packet. Is this some kind of personal vendetta? No, ma'am, I replied, calm as a still lake. It's a professional reckoning. Inside the folder, a log of Ashley and Chase's email exchanges, time-stamped, flirty, and unprofessional. Screenshots from his Slack messages, including one where he joked, if she gets the promotion, I expect bonus cuddles. A picture of them at the Birch Hotel, which she booked using the corporate card. And finally, a note Ashley sent. Chase says if I keep him happy, he'll fast-track my review. Guess I'm getting that corner office after all, face-blowing kiss. Renee said nothing for a long moment. When she finally spoke, her voice was cold enough to freeze glass. This is serious. You understand this could lead to a formal investigation, possibly termination? I do. She looked up. And what's your role in all this? I'm the husband, I said. Or was. But today, I'm just the guy who doesn't like being lied to by amateurs. She gave a slow nod. Not approval. Not sympathy. Just acknowledgement. The kind professionals give when the game just changed. I'll handle it from here. That was my cue. I left the building without looking back. I didn't need to. Chase's world had just been cracked open from the inside, not with a baseball bat, but with paperwork. By noon, the first domino had fallen. Ashley called me. I didn't answer. She texted. What did you do? I smiled. The same way a chess player smiles when the queen's been trapped 3 moves ago. Later that night, I got a message from a number I didn't recognize. Hey, it's Chase. We need to talk. I ignored it. Not out of spite. Out of design. Let him stew. Let him feel small for once. He was so used to being the guy who walked in on conversations, now he was the one locked out of them. The next day, I got confirmation from Renee. Chase had been suspended, pending investigation. And just like that, the guy who thought he could steal my wife and my dignity had lost both. But I wasn't done. That evening, Ashley showed up at my apartment. Same dress. Same eyes. But none of the power. She looked around, awkward. Nice place. Didn't come here for a tour, I said. What do you want? You need to stop this, Logan. I raised an eyebrow. Stop what? Telling the truth. You got him suspended. You're ruining everything. No, I said. You ruined everything. I'm just making sure the record reflects it. You're acting like I'm the villain, she said, voice rising. Like this whole marriage wasn't crumbling long before Chase. I leaned forward. Crumbles don't justify arson. She flinched. I stood up, walked to the door, and held it open. You got what you wanted, Ashley. You chose him. And now you're seeing who he really is when the cameras aren't rolling. Don't come crying to me because he cracked under pressure. She stood there a moment longer, hoping I'd fold, hoping I'd break. But I didn't. I watched her leave without a word. And when the door closed, it didn't feel like a goodbye. It felt like liberation. By Wednesday, word had started to spread. Not in shouts. Not in headlines. In whispers. Side eyes in the office. Slack messages ending in, "You didn't hear this from me." The kind of silence that's louder than words. I wasn't there to hear it, but Ashley was. While Chase sat at home on administrative leave, Ashley had to walk back into the lion's den. Same office. Same hallway. Different atmosphere. She texted me around noon. "They know. You made me look like a joke." I didn't respond. Not because I didn't have words. I had plenty. I just didn't believe in wasting oxygen on someone who treated me like wallpaper for a year and a half. But I knew what she meant. She wasn't upset because people knew she cheated. She was upset because people were laughing. Turns out, it's easy to play the seductress when you think no one else sees the script. But once the curtain drops, once people see the stage directions and the off-screen rehearsals, you're just another cliché in a badly written drama. And Chase? He wasn't just under investigation. He was radioactive. Corporate didn't like scandal, especially not with receipts. And thanks to the files I'd so neatly packaged, they had plenty. Expense reports, calendar overlaps, email flirtations logged during work hours. They couldn't fire him yet, not officially, but they didn't have to. He was already done. That night, I got a knock on my apartment door. Not a text, not a call, a knock. I opened it to find Ashley's sister, Julia. We'd always gotten along. She was the blunt one, the one who told Ashley when her dresses were too short or her opinions too loud. Never cared much for sugarcoating, which is exactly why I liked her. She stepped inside without asking. "I just came from Mom and Dad's," she said, tossing her bag on my couch. "They're freaking out." I raised an eyebrow. "About what?" "About you. About her. About everything." Apparently, Ashley's version of the story is that you sabotaged her career out of spite. That you humiliated her in Chase, and now her job is at risk and she's... Julia stopped. "You know what? Screw it. You're not the villain here." I sat down across from her. "Nice to hear someone say it." She told them you overreacted. That it was just flirting. That she never meant for it to go that far. "Never meant to get caught," I corrected. Julia nodded slowly. "She's unraveling. Chase won't return her calls. HR's put her under review for lack of disclosure. And I think she thought she'd run to him if this blew up. But now he's running too." "Poetic," I said. Julia studied me for a second. "You really did love her, didn't you?" I didn't answer. Because saying yes felt dishonest now. Saying no felt cruel. So I just nodded. "Anyway," she said, standing, "I told her parents if they wanted answers, they should ask their daughter. You were the one wearing the blindfold, not the mask." She paused at the door. "For what it's worth, I think you handled it better than most people would have. And if you ever feel like grabbing a drink, as friends, give me a call." Then she was gone. And I was left alone again, but this time it didn't feel like failure. It felt like freedom. The next day, my phone buzzed at 6:43 a.m. Unknown number. Voicemail. I didn't answer, but I played the message. "Logan, it's Chase. Listen. I know I messed up, man. But can we talk? Man to man. There's things you don't know. About Ashley. About all of this. I didn't want this to go down like it did. I didn't want to hurt anyone. Just call me back." I replayed it once. Man to man. Bold, coming from a guy who challenged me to a breakup duel in an Italian restaurant like he was auditioning for The Bachelor, midlife crisis edition. I didn't call back. But I saved the voicemail. Insurance. Just in case Chase tried to spin a new version of the story down the line. That afternoon, I received the final blow I didn't realize I was waiting for. A certified letter from Ashley's lawyer. Formal request for divorce proceedings. Attached, a settlement proposal. Half the assets. No mention of infidelity. No liability. Standard clean break. I stared at it for a long time. Then I opened my laptop and began typing. My response? One page. "Ashley, I've reviewed your proposal. I'll agree to the terms, under one condition. Full written acknowledgement that infidelity occurred, with dates. Otherwise, I'm going public with everything. The HR files. The texts. The hotel records. All of it. If you want silence, you'll put the truth in writing. And we'll call it even. Logan." I sent it through my lawyer that evening. By Friday morning, she folded. Signed confession. Dated. Legal. I didn't need it for revenge. Not anymore. I needed it for closure. Because the thing about betrayal is, it doesn't end when the cheater walks out. It ends when you stop caring how they walk away. I didn't go to court. That's what lawyers are for, to read legal documents in rooms that smell like carpet glue and forgotten dignity. I wasn't interested in watching Ashley try to look remorseful in front of a judge. Instead, I sat in a diner 2 blocks from the courthouse. Coffee. 1 pancake. No appetite. Divorce was finalized in 23 minutes. 7 years of marriage dissolved in less time than it takes to fix a flat tire. The judge signed, the lawyer texted, and that was that. Done. Finished. Nothing to do now but move on, which sounds great in theory, until you realize the next chapter doesn't write itself. So I started slow. Deleted her number. Cleaned out the closet, hers and mine. Replaced the bed. Burned the sheets. Literally. Turns out Ash and closure have a lot in common. I boxed up every wedding photo, every love note, every memento of the life we built. I didn't throw them out. I'm not that dramatic. But I did drive to a storage unit and lock them away. Out of sight. Out of reach. Out of power. 2 weeks after the divorce, I got invited to a birthday party. Not mine. Not anyone in my family. A friend from college, Jeremy. I almost didn't go. Wasn't in the mood to make small talk with people I hadn't seen since Facebook still felt new. But something told me I needed it. So I went. Wore a jacket. Clean shoes. Smiled like I meant it. About an hour in, someone tapped my shoulder. It was Julia, Ashley's sister. Same sharp eyes. Same knowing smirk. She was holding a glass of wine and wearing the kind of dress that says, "I didn't come here for you, but I knew you'd be here." "Didn't think I'd see you again," I said. She shrugged. "Didn't think I'd want to." We ended up on the balcony. Cool night air. A little jazz spilling out from the living room speakers. She didn't ask how I was doing. She already knew. That's what made her different. She raised her glass. "To survival," she said. I clinked mine against hers. "To clarity." And we drank. No promises. No expectations. Just 2 people, staring out at the city, finally breathing like the storm had passed. There was one last thing I needed to do. One last nail. See, Chase still worked in the industry. Not for Ashley's company. No, they cut ties quickly. But he landed on his feet. People like him always do. New city. New title. Same smirk. I knew because someone sent me a link to a video, a corporate seminar he was hosting. Topic: Leadership with integrity. I almost choked on my coffee. I could have ignored it. Moved on. Let karma take the wheel. But I believe in manual steering. So I sent one email. Just one. To the company's board of directors. Anonymous tip. Attachments included screenshots, timestamps, hotel receipts. Nothing illegal. Just enough truth to wipe the shine off his polished shoes. A week later, the seminar video disappeared. His LinkedIn title changed from executive coach to freelance consultant. I didn't celebrate. Didn't even smile. It wasn't about winning. It was about balance. Chase wanted to play hero in his own story. I just rewrote the last paragraph. Now I sleep easy. Not because everything worked out, but because I worked through it. I lost a marriage, but I gained something harder to earn, myself. I stopped looking at the empty side of the bed like a tragedy. Started looking at it like room. Room to breathe. Room to rebuild. One night, I found myself sitting on the couch. Old hoodie, fresh tea, a new book in my hand. No drama. No tension. Just stillness. And I realized something. This silence. This peace. It wasn't empty. It was earned. Ashley's gone. Chase is fading. The story is over. But me? I'm just getting started.